Hello, my name is Tanya McKeever. I work with SP Angel Corporate Finance in London as a special situations analyst. One of the companies I follow is called Tek Capital. It's an investment company listed on the AIM market of the London Stock Exchange. I've got Victor Manzanilla here with me today. He's the CEO of Salarius Limited. Salarius is one of Tek's portfolio investment companies that has recently begun to commercialize its core technology. Good afternoon, Victor, and thank you for joining me today.
Hi, Tanya. Good afternoon.
Thank
you very much for the opportunity.
Can you tell me a bit about yourself and introduce Salarius and its lead product, microsalt?
Yeah, sure. Well, so my name is Victor Manzanilla. I'm the CEO of Salarius. I'm very excited to be leading this company. I come from several years in Fortune 500 companies, which I did 15 years almost in Procter & Gamble, which I grew from small brands to being able to lead billion-dollar brands and also the new business development department. And then I went to Office Depot as a marketing director in charge of more than 1,400 stores across the US. So that's a little bit of where I come from. And after that, I was looking for an opportunity to build something from the ground up and really that had meaning and that had a purpose. And that's why when this opportunity about leading Salarius came to my hands, I didn't think twice about it. Because Salarius, as the people that are seeing us know, who may know, that we have a patented technology to develop a type of salt. We call it, the product name is microsalt, which is a salt that is 100 times, the grain of salt is 100 times smaller than the regular grain of salt. So what it does is that when it touches your tongue, it will dissolve immediately and it will create a thickness of saltiness, a thickness of flavor. And that will deliver the flavor that people want, but with much, much less sodium. So that technology really impressed me and really, engaged me to come here and lead this company.
Sounds good. I mean, just a little more on microsalt. Can you just talk about a bit about how it was discovered? And I mean, I would expect there to be an IP patent portfolio behind that. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, sure. So, so there is a patent, and the patent was created by Dr. Wang from the University of Arkansas. And what she was, I'll say the aha moment that came to her mind was when she was in the sugar and salt aisle. She saw that there was all this innovation in sugar, and you have all these sweeteners and all this technology to develop the same level of sweetness but with much less sugar. And she said, there is nothing like this in the salt aisle. And sodium consumption or high sodium consumption is a big problem. So why there is not innovation in this area? And that's how the idea sparked this work that she started, and she developed this technology. And then Tek Capital bought the technology and build the company. And basically the technology is how we are able, through a process which is we dissolve the salt, we take the salt through a high pressure, high temperature situation, and then when the water evaporates, we have a process that we are able to create these nano size particles of salt. And that's the patent, that's the IP, and that's how it came to life. So very excited now to take it to a new level.
Interesting. So, I mean, it's salt basically, but how are you lowering the sodium content by using this product?
Correct. So I'll say two ways, right? First is when you eat a product with salt, the grain of salt, that grain never dissolves completely in your tongue. So you don't have that perception, and you're eating that grain of salt, and then it will dissolve and your body will get all the level of sodium, and you never taste it. So that's what usually happens out there. With our technology, because the grain of salt is so small, it will dissolve completely. So you will really get the full flavor that you really want in your foods, in your snacks, and you are only eating I will say the less amount of sodium you really need to get that flavor. So the way we see it is that it's actually salt at its maximum efficacy and efficiency, because you are really enjoying all the full flavor, because it will all dissolve in your mouth. You will not eat salt that is not dissolved. So that's a way that you can deliver a full flavor product with much less sodium. So we have been able to achieve 50% less sodium in crisps and potato chips. We have been able to achieve even levels to 70% less sodium in popcorn. So it depends a little bit on the surface of the application, but we have been able to get from 50% less sodium to 70% less sodium with no change in the flavor profile. And that's what is exciting.
That's very exciting. I'm a salty myself, so I put salt on everything. I guess high sodium consumption in our foods is really just a global problem. We're seeing more and more sort of government food agencies focused on it. What really are we trying to prevent here?
Yeah. So sodium is, high sodium consumption is one of the biggest health problems that we have globally. And there is a clear and proven connection between high sodium consumption, high blood pressure, and cardiovascular disease. So just to give you an example, just in the US, according to the FDA, if people were able to reduce 33% of the sodium consumption, we will save between 28,000 and 50,000 premature deaths a year.
Oh, wow.
A year. So we're talking lives, right, that are connected to high sodium consumption, which leads to high blood pressure and cardiovascular disease. So that's where the big problem is, and that's where we come, because there is a second problem. The first problem is not only high sodium consumption, but also that people, they don't want to eat less salt, because this should be a problem very easy to solve. You just tell people, hey, or manufacturers, let's just put less salt in your products, and then everything will be fine. But the reality is that when people eat and they are in their tables or they are eating their snacks, they really want their full flavor experience. So when we started Salarius, really our main objective was, okay, we need to reduce sodium, but we cannot change the flavor profile, because if we change the flavor profile, then we're not going to achieve the objective and solve the two problems that we have. And that's where the magic of the technology is, because in our case, because we are salt, we don't have any substitutes, we don't have anything else, it's just salt, a mechanical change in the particle of the salt. That's why we can solve those two problems. So deliver the full flavor that they want, but with 50% less sodium. And
so, there's lots of competition out there, and we're already seeing some food products that say 25% less sodium. What's the competition like in the market, and why is microsalt better?
Yeah, so there has been an effort to reduce sodium for decades, and it has been an effort that hasn't been very successful, because the problem number two that I told you a few seconds ago about people really want the full flavor. The main competitors, because there are, that we have out there are basically what they do is that they substitute salt with another mineral, like for example, potassium chloride. Mm-hmm. Potassium chloride is a number one salt substitute out there. The big problem with potassium chloride is that the flavor is bitter and metallic. So what happens is when you put potassium chloride into the mix, then people don't like the flavor, and then you will see a bunch of flavor companies, they start using another ingredients and chemicals to try to mask the metallic flavor. So that's why, in our opinion, this market of low sodium salt hasn't been very successful, and the low sodium products hasn't been very successful in the market, because they are not able to achieve the flavor profile that people really want. So that's where we come, and that's where we are different, because as I said before, we taste like salt because we are salt. Mm-hmm. And when people are able to taste crisp or popcorns or whatever snack or whatever food where you have a topical application of salt, they are not able to differentiate if we're using microsalt or we're using salt, and that's our big point of differentiation.
So just on the legislation in the market, are companies doing this voluntarily, or are they being forced into, changing the content of food by government regulation?
Yeah, it's happening both ways. So we have some countries, like for example in the US, the FDA has developed some voluntary guidelines that should be released by the end of this year or maybe early 2021. But there are other countries like Chile, Peru, and Mexico where they have very strict rules on sodium consumption that they have been releasing in the past months. For example, this year, the Mexican government released a high sodium consumption new regulation where you need to put a big black diamond in front of the package that says high in sodium if you are not able to meet the levels that they require. And that's one of the reasons why we in Salarius move very quickly to start developing business in Mexico, because the need just happened very, very fast. So we are seeing both happening, voluntary and also forcing. The key thing here is that we believe that we are in a trend, that this is a trend that is happening across the globe. So we have been in conversation with companies in Asia, in Europe, of course, Latin America, and the US and Canada, and they are all looking for sodium solutions for the products because they feel and they know that this is a trend that you cannot stop. So that's why we believe in Salarius that we are in the right place at the right moment, because we have that solution that we can deliver to these manufacturers.
So, I mean, how long does it take to get microsalt included as a substitute or in substitute of salt in a snack product with a company?
Yes. So
what does the process look like?
Yeah, let's call it the sales cycle.
Yeah.
Is between 3 to 6 months. Because usually the process, especially when you're talking with big manufacturers or medium-sized manufacturers, first they need to do some, they usually do some R&D testing and then consumer testing just to make sure that their product matches the flavor profile is maintained. Usually that takes about a month and a half. But then after that, as they move to microsalt, they need to make a change in the artwork, because now you have less sodium than before. So you need to change the nutrition label, and that means you need to have a change in the packaging, which takes some time. So what we have seen so far is that between 3 to 6 months is the normal time between somebody learning, starting to test microsalt to when you can see it in the market.
Sounds good. And then you've talked about a line of potato crisp snacks I think they're called SaltMe. Mm-hmm. Can you tell me a bit about those products and how they came about?
Yes, of course. So SaltMe is our own brand of full flavor, low sodium potato crisps. And the reason that brand started, because first I want to clarify something. The brand SaltMe is not the core of our business. The core of our business is microsalt and how we sell and distribute microsalt to hundreds and thousands of manufacturers. But as we were working and developing the sales process for microsalt, we decided to start trying our own product in chips, in crisps, just to see how it works and to give people and manufacturers and R&D people that we talk with some type of example so they can really try it, test it, and say, okay, yeah, like this company can deliver this flavor with much less sodium. So that's how the whole idea of creating this crisp started. But then as we were developing and we start having testing meetings with people start loving the crisp. So then we decide to start selling the crisp as a side business, and also to understand a little bit about the product market fit and the real need of low sodium full flavor solutions in the market. And that started growing, and we were able to sign a deal with the #1 natural product distributor in the US, which is called Unify. And then we start selling the potato crisps in the northeast of the US. And then we had this big customer in Texas called Central Market. They love the chips, so they bought, and now we have distribution there. So this small idea of the SaltMe crisp that was originally done just for a market, I would say more like a small market test and consumer test, is becoming its own thing. So the good thing is that we are making money, we have healthy gross margins, so it's helping and it's paying by itself. So we are just, seeing how far it will go. But we believe that now that that brand is getting traction in the market, that we hit something very important, that in the snacks market, there is no one owning this white space of full flavor, low sodium. We have a lot of manufacturers that own different areas of the market, but usually their low sodium products are actually low salty products.
Right.
But there is not an option for full flavor low sodium. So SaltMe is getting there and is starting to own that little section of the market, and we're very excited for it.
Sounds good. And the potato crisp market is quite a competitive market, I would think, in North America and worldwide. So the sales strategy is to work through distribution partners. And how do you ensure that you get, the right spot on the shelf for your product?
Correct. So what we do is that we have, first we partner with Unify. Also, we partner with a broker company called iLevel, and they have a sales force structure across the US. Although we are only working, I will say, in the east of the US right now. And between those two partners, that's the way we are able to get and have our product in the shelf. And the key point, because you are right, is a pretty competitive market right now. The key, I'll say, strategy to succeed is have a clear point of differentiation. And that's, I think, where we are winning, because nobody is offering full flavor, low sodium. And when we were developing the SaltMe brand, if you see the snack spectrum, the snack market spectrum, specifically crisps, you have like the indulgent, I'll say not healthy type of crisps and chips, which really own the market here. And then when you go to the other side of the spectrum, you have like the super healthy type of crisp and snacks. When we were thinking about SaltMe, we said, well, we don't want to go to the super healthy side of the business spectrum, because those people, they are already healthy. They are already looking for very health solution. And health means a lot of things. Not only low sodium, means, protein and carbs and a bunch of other stuff. And that market is super polarized of hundreds and hundreds of very small niche brands. When you go to the big brands that own the indulgence part of the market, people that they don't really care about their health that much, they really want the flavor, it's owned by big brands. So what we said is, what we are trying to do is basically become a Me Too brand of these big brands, but with 50% less sodium. And that way we're going to be able to own a section of the market that is big, but also where we have a clear point of differentiation, and we can deliver something that these people want, but they cannot because they have, let's say, health issues, or they need to control their sodium consumption. So that's why we moved to this area, and I feel that that's why SaltMe is succeeding the way it's succeeding.
Sounds good. And then just a little bit more on your distribution agreements with various partners. You mentioned a couple for SaltMe, and I believe you have someone, the microsalt side as well. Can you just talk about how they help?
Yeah, so one of the things that we did as we start Salarius, and specifically microsalt sales, is that we work to build the infrastructure to really grow at a scale. So one of the things we did, before SaltMe, when I'm talking microsalt right now, is that we partner with two brokers that their expertise is ingredients, and they already have all the doors to get to these big manufacturers. So we partner with these two brokers, and then with a distributor, a global distributor that is called GMI. They have a big footprint globally. Although right now our focus is only in the US with them. They have their own distribution facility. They also have their own sales force. So that way we could focus in what we are the best, which is the technology. And we can leave the distributors and the brokers, which what they do best is selling and distributing, and they have already all the connections and how to get there. So that's a little bit of the model that we use in the US. Then when all this law that I was talking a few minutes ago in Mexico about forcing manufacturers to reduce sodium, as soon as we saw that opportunity, we went to Mexico to find a partner there. And we found a great distributor called FXM Ingredients, which is one of the biggest ingredients distributors in Mexico. They have contracts with all the big companies like Bimbo, Frito-Lay, Pepsi, Frito-Lay. They have Kerry. They have the biggest brands in Mexico buy ingredients from them. So we partnered with them too, because it's the same thinking. It's like, we are not experts in the Mexican market. We don't know where to start, but they are. And our expertise is how we develop the best technology possible for them. So right now we have this effort happening as we speak in Mexico, and we have the US, and that's how I'll say the distribution and sales structure has been built in order to be able to scale Salarius as more manufacturers get the awareness of our brand and our solution.
Good. And when do you think we could hear about a product placement soon, or an order for microsalt from one of these big brand partners? I mean, those are some really big names you've mentioned.
We have. I will say yes. We have several big manufacturers, Fortune 500 companies, testing microsalt as we speak. It takes some time in testing. Also, being completely transparent, the COVID situation impacted all this testing, because a bunch of these labs are closed, or people are working from home, which make this testing slower than the original, for example, 3 months that I told you initially. Right. But I will say yes. I mean, we have several big and medium-sized companies in the testing phase right now, and we are very optimistic.
And then producing microsalt, can you, if one of these orders or a couple of these orders came through, would you have any problem scaling up to these commercial quantities on a long-term basis?
Not at all. We have a partnership with co-manufacturers. With a co-manufacturer that have a lot of capacity for us, but also we have a second supply chain ready in case the orders are above what this co-manufacturer can do. So from the logistic point of view, we are fully prepared to supply any of these orders. And as we have been talking with these potential customers, as we sign NDAs and all, they give us a lot of information about volumes. So we, in parallel, has been making sure we have the capacity in raw materials and also in production capacity. So we feel very confident with that.
And that's all done in the US? Yes. Okay.
Correct.
Good. And then, so you're already focused on North America, basically. Is there room for sort of global expansion in time, or what kind of timelines would you look at for expanding further?
Totally. So the reason, I mean, as every business, we really want to focus and grow and understand our business and learn before we start expanding so fast and become so thin that like you're building a house of cards. So that's why right now our main focus is North America and Mexico, because this opportunistic thing that is happening with the government. But as we have been working to raise capital and also giving samples to different companies, we have seen a lot of interest into bringing the solution to places like Asia, for example, and other countries of Latin America. So if I can predict, I will say that between late 2021 and early 2022, we should be we should have business in more business in Latin America and business in Asia.
Sounds good. And just to finish this off, can you tell me about some of the key milestones we should be looking for in the next 6 months and maybe 12 months?
Well, yeah, I'll tell you that the first milestone that we have in the next 6 months is being able to close one of these big customers, right? Because that will make a big change for us, for Salarius, and for the future. I'll tell you that we have innovation that we want to do, because we have been, as we build microsalt, we create a microsalt, we have been learning a ton. You know, when we bought the patent, it was only proven in a lab. And in the last 18 months, we have been able to take a lab-proven technology to full-scale manufacture. And in that process, we have learned a lot. So we believe that we can deliver even a better benefit in the future. I will say a bigger sodium reduction in the future. So we are working on that. Of course, the global expansion is very important. And inside the US, our focus has been right now in snacks manufacturers, but there are a lot of other markets that we are also about to tap in. Like, for example, the food restaurant industry also needs lower sodium consumption. That's just an example. And we have put that on hold because, you know, all the COVID situation is put the restaurants in a crisis right now, which reducing sodium is not their number one priority. But there is a big market there too. And there are other industries that we know they need low sodium full flavor. So we are going to be able to expand not only vertically, but also horizontally across industries inside the US.
That sounds exciting. Well, thank you, Victor, for your time today and sharing the details on the Salarius story with me. And we wish you well. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.